I'm so happy to have you here with us, John. The audience loves you, and it's always such a privilege to interview you.
Well, it's a pleasure for me as well. I think always for everybody's self-esteem, it's good to do things for ourselves, to feel good about ourselves, but also to know how we're viewed by others. Because a major part of every human being is we want to be accepted, we want to be appreciated, we want to be trusted, we want to be cared for, we want to be understood. So that's all relationship. And so no one thrives in a vacuum. Is that through relationship, we learn about who we are and we learn how to be a better person as well. I think that today our challenge in our relationships has a lot to do with no longer survival or security, but it's more about a level of emotional fulfillment and personal growth. I think that a lot of the challenges we face in relationships can be opportunities to grow, and then we love ourselves more. I think that's a big important aspect, is that if you grow in a relationship, you love yourself more. A lot of people say, well, you just have to love yourself and then you have a relationship. I go, well, yeah, the external world to a great extent is a reflection of our own internal issues that we have. And
yeah, that could be a hard one to take in at times, can't it?
Yeah. And so I look at everybody if in my world of relationships and what I've learned and how I've grown to be a happier, more fulfilled person, have a better relationship, is to take on the challenges of relationship and take it one step at a time from a perspective that, all right, this is pushing buttons inside of me. This is causing insecurities to come up, is causing frustrations to come up, is causing impatience to come up, a lot desperateness to come up. And this is parts of who we are, how we're showing up. And that's what we want to look at that and transform that. And I think that understanding how men and women interact with each other when we're talking about gender relationships can have a big impact on your self-esteem going up or down. So we can talk about that.
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. And, this whole series is designed to help people love themselves, love their life, and find real love. And I think it kind of goes in that order to some extent. I think we learn to love ourselves. If we have a great, fulfilling life, that's likely to help us invite in someone wonderful into our lives. And like you said, relationships can be like this mirror that kind of reflects back to us, where we have a whole new opportunity to understand more about ourselves in the context of a relationship. I say sometimes it's like we have the blinders on, we think we see ourselves, but we're not seeing the side view, or heaven forbid, the rear view, right?
Right. Well, I like what you said very much. You summed it up quite beautifully, is that, we do need to love ourselves, and that gives us the confidence to interact with others and to and communicate with others, go on dates with others, be in relationship with others. It's a foundation. If you don't love yourself to a certain extent, we'll put it that way, then you're looking to this other person to make you feel worthy of love. Mm-hmm. You're looking to them to make you feel happy and fulfilled. So the flip side of that is, whenever you're unhappy in a relationship, from my perspective, you're generally looking to your partner to be happy. And that's when self-love comes in. That's where you've got to step back and realize the foundation of a relationship is that I can love myself. And loving yourself is not just looking in the mirror and saying, I look great today, although that can be a part of it. But it's about doing things for you that make you feel good. So loving myself would be exercising. And another thing would be taking time for recreation, be taking time to work, all the things that make me feel good that are not dependent on my relationship. That's what loving yourself is having a life where you're not depending on somebody else, a significant other, to make you feel good, rather than you look to your significant other, which I'm a big believer of significant other. It makes you significantly more happy.
Yeah, I like that. I like the way you said that, significantly more happy.
It's always to go to a higher level, so that when your partner has their waves and they have their ins and outs, and this is just a dance you'll always do with a man, as a woman to know, men get close and then men pull back. And when they pull back, it could be you did something to annoy them. It could be has nothing to do with you, has to do with his work, something about his own issues. It could have to do with you had a really wonderful time with him. That's the most confusing thing about men.
Yeah.
Is kind of a wonderful date and feeling really good. Well, why don't we go to the next level? Why are we not going forward? Is that men will back up. And it's not like they know any of this is going on. They just,
they don't know.
We just go by our feelings. We don't think that much. And we know we're feeling attraction. And to not feel attraction doesn't mean that we're not attracted to someone. That's a very important thing. But men don't always know that either. They don't have a lot of self-awareness on these things. When he's not feeling as much attraction, and if you were to say to him, well, you don't feel as attractive as, I don't feel you being attracted to me like you were before, then he'll kind of go, oh, that's true. I guess, yeah, it's going away.
Oh.
I guess we're not supposed to be together. It's like you don't tell him those things. You don't ask him those questions because he kind of goes, yeah, what's going on is attraction is like the weather. And just like your mood as a woman is like the weather. Okay. Sometimes you're feeling really good and sometimes you're not feeling so good. And there's so many things that are going on in our lives that affect our moods and our emotions and whatever. And generally, if you're in a significant relationship, when you're feeling insecure, that's when you're going to seek reassurance from your partner. And that's when you don't want to seek reassurance from your partner. That kind of need for reassurance, it's like a red flag goes off. Where are we going with relationship? What do you think about me? Do you still love me? Are we together? Are we going to go out? All that busyness is it's a stress reaction in your brain of insecurity, which is telling you you're looking too much to your significant other or potential significant other in order to be happy. It's like literally you have to make that shift. It's called pivoting. You pivot to other things that are expressions of your self-love, okay, which means that you do things that will make you happy and fulfilled. And that's challenging because, how many people today can say, oh, I'm happy all the time. Well, we're not happy all the time. But when we're not, we can have a pivot to something that will help us to feel happier, that's not dependent on our significant other. It's a very mature thing to be able to sustain a relationship today. Didn't have to be that way before. You didn't have to learn new relationship skills. You didn't have to have high self-esteem. You didn't have to know how to navigate the differences between men and women, because in the past, you already knew what you got when you got him. You didn't need to change him. You basically needed a man for provider. If he had a job, okay, pretty much done. He had
a job and he's breathing and he's in, right?
Yeah, so there wasn't any need to change a man. There was just simply he's already, because there was also this barrier that he couldn't have sex until he married you. He really was in best form until you got married. So you had to be, before you get married, what you get is what you're going to get. Doesn't change. Okay. And so you were happy with that. You got the best you could get. And then if you were happy with that, you had a pretty good relationship, because if you're happy with a man, he will always be his best self. It's when you're not happy with a man that it brings out the worst of him. And everybody's got a good side and a bad side. I was just counseling a couple, and she goes back to 8 years ago at a time when there was a lot of stress in his life, and he said some bad things. And what happens is people go, well, he showed his true colors. I said, no, that's not his true colors. That's who he becomes when he's not himself. Okay. If somebody is sick, people shift. It doesn't mean that when they're sick, that's who they truly are. And in a relationship, when we don't have good communication, we can sabotage and push buttons both in each other. Men push buttons all the time in women. For example, you're upset about something and he tells you shouldn't be upset. I mean, he just thinks it's simple logic. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Minimize it. That's what I do. And can't you do that? And then you feel, oh, he doesn't understand me or whatever. And he doesn't care about me and I'm not important to him. And so then you say that to him, "Hey, what are you talking about?" Then he feels like you're talking to somebody not making any sense. So it's, if we understand each other's language. So if you've got this man and he's interrupting you, he's making you wrong for being upset, you can speak a little bit of his language. If you were going to Japan, you want to get a translator. It's simple as that. So a little bit of his language, and then you can speak your language to your translator. So your translation would be, this is not really a big deal, but I just want to talk about it, and you just think about it. Then what happens is he relaxes, he hears you, and he'll think about it, as opposed to nobody wants to feel, I have to do something to be loved. See, that's the key thing. I have to do something to be loved. Even when I'm saying communication skills, it's not like you're not lovable. It's just that if you go around poking at it's the behavior. It's nothing wrong with you. It's the behavior of not speaking the language that another person, particularly a man, would understand, like a hand gesture. If you're meeting a stranger, you put your hand out, and that was to show that you had no weapons.
Right.
You just want to learn the gestures on Mars, and you're able to bring out the best in a guy, and then understand that these unusual characters are really wonderful when they're horny. Okay, that's the biology of men. Nature put it in us. We're supposed to make babies. So we get, we have this biology of testosterone. The part of the brain that has to do with sex is much bigger in men. Not to say it doesn't, not in women, but it's just much bigger in men. It's a primary drive. And so he's always on some level feeling this attraction to get in there. What do I have to do to get in there, in a sense? And you don't want to make it too easy, but you don't want to make it too hard. Okay. So that's always the dance of life. It's like everything is finding that right balance, and understanding where men are coming from can be helpful.